I have 10 o'clock. I will call the Harrison County Commission meeting for July 31st, 2024 to order. If you will rise and join us in the invocation of the text, please.
Heavenly Father, your words of Jeremiah are that you are a Lord of hope. A Lord that we can put our future on, because when we speak to you, Lord, you will listen. I pray for all the individuals in this room today to have peace and kindness in their hearts, that they all enjoy their day with their friends, their families, and their coworkers. And of course, Lord, return home safely this evening to their family. In Jesus' name, we ask all these things. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, is there anyone signed up to speak publicly other than the?
Pete Secret is signed up.
Are you here for the? From the History Museum? Okay, so we have that at 10:10. So, okay, that it?
Yes.
Anybody on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices A through F. What's the pleasure?
Payroll change notices.
Motion to approve payroll changes A through F. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We have no minutes and or amended minutes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, number 5, requisitions, purchase orders, invoices as shown on vendor list A. What's pleasure?
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. I have a question. We have a requisition payable to John R. Spires, clerk of the Harrison County Commission. And the invoice is for David Hinkle for election results for a precinct list, or precinct by precinct, I believe, and a thumb drive. Can somebody answer why the county's paying for his request?
Madam, I requested that as a commissioner and left it in the property of the commission. If the commission wishes to return that to me, I'm more than happy to pay the $35.
Do we have the thumb drive and do we have the 715 page results? And did you put this request in writing? As a Harrison County Commissioner?
No, ma'am, I did not. Again, if you wish to return it, please do so at the earliest possible moment.
I'd like
and
to
I
know
will
where
have
it's at. I have not seen it. I
I left
didn't know
it
that
in,
that was
I
requested on the
left it.
commission's behalf. I want to make sure that the newspaper gets this.
You want to make sure the newspaper gets it.
Yep.
You gave the attorney's permission to give
That's
somebody an
not what
extra
we're
week.
talking.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Can you please tell me where this is, Laura, if he gave this to you?
I believe Commissioner Hinkle did put it on my desk. I thought he took it back. It isn't there anymore, but I can look.
Oh,
for
so
it.
you don't have it. You're not in possession of
I do not.
it. Okay,
And
I
I'm
wonder
not in
why I
possession
moved
of
to
it.
remove the requisition.
You do whatever you
Payable
want,
to
Susan.
$35 to John Spires.
You do whatever you want anyway. We're gonna vote.
motion to approve and remove.
I already made that a motion, so it's a new motion.
Stated by the county president.
I would like my motion voted on, please.
Okay, all in favor of David's motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Okay, Commissioner Treecost. Motion to approve all except the one to John Spires, clerk of the Harrison County Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carried. 10:05, we have an estate hearing for a copy of a will, Richard Gary Sheets. Okay.
You have my copy of what you gave Susan.
No, here, you can look at, you can look at my copy if you'd like, sir.
No, that's okay. Could you please get me a copy?
Call to order.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, and you want to explain why you're here today?
Oh, well, we actually, my father just had a copy of a will. And so we were wanting the, to be accepted, the will to be accepted. I'm his daughter, and then this is my sister, his other daughter.
And you've looked high and low for this will.
We have
and
looked
been unable to
everywhere.
find it.
Yeah, he didn't have a safe deposit box. We've looked through his whole house. And we're his only heirs, so.
Did an attorney prepare this? Do you know?
Mark Hallbritter.
And you checked with them to make sure that they didn't have it?
Well, no, I don't.
Safe.
I don't have a relationship with him now.
Okay.
But I'm sure he doesn't.
Does anybody else have any questions?
No, I'll make the motion to accept the copy as an original.
Okay, the motion's been made to accept the copy as an original. So you can proceed with the administration of the estate.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Any discussion?
Hmm.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? You will prepare, an order will be prepared,
Yes,
and then you will contact the clerk to do the administration.
Thank you very much.
probably be 3 to 5 days. The order will be down there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Number 6, exoneration corrective tickets, joint property applications. We have exonerations and corrective tickets. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve A and B, please.
Motion to approve the exonerations and corrective tickets, correct?
Mhm.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 7, consideration of approval of a project fund requisition for the payment of costs associated with the project to be financed from proceeds of the series 2019 bonds issued for the Charles Point Economic Opportunity Development District Series 2021 A and B Development District Number 3, White Oaks Project Number 2, and Series 2008A, Charles Point Project Number 2, Northland Bay. We have one for $1,622.50. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve A, please.
Motion to approve 7A, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Now we have to have a public hearing before we can do number 8.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you want to take care of the special funding request, I believe we have the one gentleman here for the one, and then Rebecca Flanagan is trying to make it for the start of the prize.
Okay. Are you guys okay with going ahead with the 10-10 for Stars and Strides since she cannot make it?
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Hinkle, are you okay? Or do you want to wait?
Just trying to understand number 8.
Well, we're not there yet.
It says we're adopt a resolution. I'm just trying to understand why we're not discussing number 8.
Because the public hearing needs to take place before the resolution, is my understanding.
Mr. Zimmerman, is that the case?
Yeah, that would be the appropriate procedure, and I have no issue with you addressing Stars and Strides. And then the special funding request from the Clarksburg History Museum. At this point,
And I have no issue with you going to number 8 for the public hearing if you want that.
No, that's, I want to do it in the proper order. Okay, 10-10 special funding request from Stars and Strides Therapeutic Equine Center requesting $4,000 to provide no-cost therapeutic riding to families in need. And you say you have some information?
Yes, Rebecca's coming to us again to ask for $4,000 for this program. Each lesson is $50. Each child rides 8 times for a total of $400. 10 families would be covered with this. Last year, we did give $4,000 to this program.
Motion to approve the $4,000.
Motion to approve the $4,000 requested from Stars and Strides Therapeutic Equine Center, correct?
Please.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We also have at 10:10 a special funding request from the Clarksburg History Museum requesting $3,000 for the John W. Davis event, which will take place on August 11th at 2 p.m. Pete, or whoever is speaking to this.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here and thank you for letting me speak. I'm here on behalf of the Clarksburg History Museum and also the Harrison County Historical Society and a group of people that are putting together this event. And this event that happened in Clarksburg in Harrison County in West Virginia 100 years ago. And it was the largest spectator event ever to witness here in Harrison County. 80,000 people were at the Golf Plaza area. It was the first radio broadcast in WKDKA to ever go out on a presidential inauguration. And that is John W. Davis, who in the Democratic Party was taken for president of the United States in 1924 on August 11th. And we thought this could not go untold without having a celebration. So this group of people put together, coming up on August 11th, we will have a celebration, a one-day celebration for the celebration of John W. Davis, who was an attorney here in Clarksburg and was the only and still only the other to be for the president of the United States from West Virginia, from Harrison County, and he was from Clarksburg. Now, this event has grown since we started. We sent out invitations, and Cyrus Vance Jr. was really ecstatic to come, and he is coming into town. First time that he's been back to Clarksburg since he was 10 years old. And he's coming in on Thursday and spending the whole weekend with us. And we're going to have the celebration at the Waldemore at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon and kind of do a reenactment of way things went that afternoon. We're going to have also a Model T parade and parade around Clarksburg, just like they did in 1924. And the reason we're needing a little bit of money is because we want to take care of Cyrus Vance Jr.'s, all his motel expenses and the meals and things that are happening that weekend. We have raised some money, and also we hope to get a representative from Davis and Polk, who they say that if they are not coming, they will send a representative. But that's what's happening, and it's going to be big. I tell you what, it's something that we're excited about, and a lot of great people have got involved in this. And I asked everyone here, if you're around Clarksburg on August 11th, please come to the Waldemore. We're going to have a great celebration, food, and tell you what, we're trying to put out the red carpet for Mr. Vance, and he's excited. He's really excited to come, and we're excited also. So thank you for letting me speak, and also we've got some badges. Mike's got some badges, and if anybody would like to join in and go to dinner with Mr. Vance, there is things going on all weekend long. They can get with Mike here later on, but we thank you for your help, and we thank you for all the help that you have given the Clarksburg History Museum in the past. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Pete. I can tell how excited you are. I think the whole room can tell.
So, Madam President, this is a one-day event that would be eligible for $1,500.
Motion to approve the $1,500 as stated by the county administrator.
Okay, motion to approve the $1,500 for the Clarksburg History Museum for the John W. Davis event. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. We have 10:14. You want to move on to number 9 and see if we can get a couple more agenda items out of the way before we proceed with the hearing? Now I have 10:15 and we'll proceed with the hearing. At 10:15, we have a public hearing regarding an application to the West Virginia Department of Economic Development seeking approval to extend the termination date of the Harrison County Development District Number 2, Charles Point, and to permit the amendment of the project plan for the district to permit the issuance of tax increment revenue bonds by the county commission, which will have a term of up to 30 years from their issue date. I just want to go over some outline for the public hearing before we begin. Everyone who wishes to speak must sign up. Those who are against the extension will go first. Those who wish to speak that are in favor of the 15-year extension will go second. Every person who wishes to speak will have 3 minutes to do so. You do not have to use the entire 3 minutes, but if you have time left over, you cannot allot it to someone else. There is a countdown clock that will be we will be utilizing. This is an opportunity to voice your opinion to the commission, but remember the commissioners do not answer any questions in the public hearing section. I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone
A
signed up?
point to
speak?
what's being done. This is the first time this commission has ever enforced rules on a public hearing. The three commissioners did not discuss this. This was taken on by somebody inside the commission to only make these rules up as of today or yesterday. They were not disseminated to the commissioners and not disseminated to the public. The public was not notified that this is how this meeting would be run. And it's typical of this commission, we do things in the dark like this.
Yes, a number of individuals are signed up, and I will just call them in the order in which they signed. And when you take the podium, I would ask that you identify yourself, and if you represent a stakeholder in the context of today's hearing, just please so such states. The first individual signed up is Mr. Andy Lang.
If I don't complete my statements, can my complete statement be made part of the record?
Certainly.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody. I'm Andy Lang. I'm the mayor of Bridgeport, and I'm speaking on behalf of not for or against. Question was for or against. I'm not for or against. I'm just pointing out that this is a public meeting, and I just feel that I feel that there's been extremely limited information given about this public information. The annual tax increment financing reports stopped in 2018 being put online, and there's just not a lot of information on websites that are available. So let me go real quick how TIF works. TIF develops a district borrowed with dollars by bonds paid back with increased tax dollars for a period of 30 years. TIF can also divert tax dollars into an account for a period of time. These funds can be used as pay as you go. These dollars for 30 years will then be sent to the proper government. After 30 years, the TIF's over, will be sent to the proper government bodies. In this case, the county, the school board, and the city. These tax dollars are then used to support the development that was developed. This request extends this development that's currently in there for 15 years and makes the diversion of these tax dollars away from the county, school board, the city, and the county for a total of 45 years from the inception of the district. The city of Bridgeport has always been incredibly supportive of development in and around North Central West Virginia. We have been supportive of TIF districts, developers like any other development. However, the city provides frontline government to the TIF districts within the corporate limits. Fire, police, water, sewer, street repair, sidewalks, parks, recreation to the citizens, so on and so on, and many other services. These services cost money, and we are here to ask how diverting these dollars will benefit the citizens of North Central West Virginia. So I have a few questions about the tax increment application amendment. That's part of this public hearing information that was put out, and that's all that was put out. What dollar amounts are we talking about? The document provided refers to extending the TIF district to facilitate the restructuring or refunding bonds and to provide financing for additional proportions of the project plan. Has the developer, the trustee, the bondholder, or the county looked at what these numbers could be? I've not seen or made public any numbers that we're talking about diverting. How many dollars are those? The current amount borrowed or bonds that are delinquent in full payment today total $93 million. I would think with $93 million, we would have some idea of what kind of dollars we're talking about diverting for an additional 15 years, but I have yet to see those numbers. Using the current developer's own estimate of the increased assessment, the city ran some numbers, and we feel that these dollars somewhere total around $15 million. 6.6 to the county school board, 5 million to the county, and 4 million to the city over those 15 years in today's dollars. In today's dollars, which they will be much more dollars in the future. That's the end of my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second individual signed up is John Griffith.
Hello, John Griffith, Bridgeport City Council. I want to voice my support for the position Mayor Andy Lang has taken on this matter and my displeasure at the fact that the county commission has not allowed us to yield our time so that Andy can continue in his statement. So thank you.
Third individual is Hank Murray.
Hi, I'm Hank Murray, and I'm recorder for the city of Bridgeport. And I want to also support what Andy said. It makes a lot of sense. And the bonds are for both property tax and sales tax ticks are currently under default. This is public information is outlined on the EMA website. The property taxes TIF has not been able to make its full payments since 2013, which is now 11 years. The sales tax bonds are also in default by not producing enough tax to make a full payment since they were sold in 2019. How much of these tax dollars in question will be used to refinance existing bonds and catch up the payments versus how much they'll be used for future growth? And what further development is going to take place? Why has the developer not provided a feasibility study demonstrating that it has a capacity to complete additional development in the TIF district? The original application included a market study as required by the TIF Act. The TIF amended application submitted by Genesis Partners Limited Partnership does not include any analysis of additional planned development. It merely requests additional 15 years of tax revenue from the county, the city, and the county school board. Why does the TIF amendment not include an analysis of the impact of the extension on the levying bodies? The analysis from the original project plan is outdated for many years. It was dated February 2005. Has the county commission obtained financial advice for the independent third party regarding the impact of the extension in the levying bodies? It's important that the public understand that the outstanding TIF bonds have been in default for over a decade because of the failure of the developer to perform. For an extension to be provided, there's no need be confidence in the developer's ability to compete the additional development than the results in additional tax revenues. How does the extension further economic development needed in Harrison County, and what private investment is anticipated to create? What jobs will be created by the future development in the TIF district? The TIF amendment does not include any of the information regarding project jobs to be created. Why is there a lack of transparency regarding any benefits or costs of this extension? The TIF amendment application could have provided a clear case supporting the extension. Instead, it provided no information supporting the need for it at all. In this case, TIF is a public-private partnership where public funds are subsidizing a private development. The developer has not provided a plan to levying bodies demonstrating that this extension achieves the goals of the public entities. A reserve fund was created, but has since been depleted. Will the reserve fund be fully funded before any possible surplus tax increment funds are spent by the developer? It's my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Clayton Rice.
Hello, Clayton Rice, also Bridgeport City Council, and I want to continue some remarks. A reserve fund was created, excuse me. If the developer is unable to obtain funds to refinance existing bonds, will a 15-year extension still be granted? Maybe some skin in the game by the developer would be granting the 15-year extension if the refinancing can be accomplished. Has the developer met all the requirements of the forbearance agreements? This agreement has been in effect since September of 2017. Is the county commission and the bondholder and the trustee all in agreement? So far, the dynamics of this refinancing and future plans have had minimal transparency and accountability that is deserved by the citizens of Harrison County and small business throughout the county and the city, particularly since the city of Bridgeport carries most of the burden of essential services to this development every single day of every single year. I do not appear today to request that the extension or refinancing be denied. I ask that this be delayed until more information and transparency can be found as to the impact on Harrison County property owners and small businesses is considered and is available. The county, developer, trustee, bondholders, the state of West Virginia, and the city should all meet and have a question and answer session to vet out all concerns and possibly put these topics to bed. We are elected to make sure we protect our citizens and do what is in the best interest of them. You and the county commission are elected to do the same. Thank you.
Don Burton.
Don Burton, resident of the city of Bridgeport and also on Bridgeport City Council. I would support the previous statements by our other council members and Mayor Andy Lang. Transparency is really important, whether it's the city or Bridgeport Council or Harrison County Commissioners. Some of this information was not put out in a timely manner, and I would ask you to be transparent and visit those issues again. Thank you.
That concludes the against the extension or the original signors to the floor. The first individual signed up is Stephen Webb.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Steve Webb. I'm Associate Director of West Virginia Economic Development Authority. Our Executive Director, Chris Warner, has asked me to read this letter of support for extension of the TIF district into the record. Commissioners, today the County Commission will consider the extension requests of an approved tax increment financing district. I trust that this letter will help explain why it is important for the County Commission to approve the request. The West Virginia Legislature created TIF districts as an important economic development tool for county and municipal governments. We all recognize that TIF districts are important opportunities to create public-private partnerships between local governments and private developers. We all want TIF districts created by local governments to realize their full economic potential. Because of that commitment, the state and our legislature recognize the need for existing TIF districts to consider an extension in financing to help offset the reduction of development opportunities that has taken place over the last 15 years. The economic recession that began in 2008, the COVID pandemic that ran from 2019 to 2023, and the significant inflation that has occurred over the last 3 years have all been challenges for all of our TIF districts. The cost of borrowing money alone has substantially reduced. Industrial, commercial, residential, and recreational construction here in West Virginia and throughout the country. These public-private partnerships are important to the state's economic development strategy. I can think of no better example of that than the active TIF districts here in Harrison County. The Charles Point District and the White Oaks District are critical components of the economic development of not just Harrison County, but of North Central West Virginia as well. Charles Point is a model TIF project here in West Virginia. For more than 20 years, the folks at Charles Point have been working with the city of Bridgeport and Harrison County to develop the sustainable growth this area is now known for throughout the state. County commissions, development authorities, and city councils routinely come to our office inquiring about tax increment financing. They want to know how best to create a TIF district. They want to know how to strategically plan for infrastructure development. And they want to know how planning within a TIF district can help create additional economic development around and near that district. To address all these concerns, we encourage them to visit Harrison County and to meet with the developers at Charles Point, who provide an excellent example of this type of a development. The economic development challenges that our state faces can be enhanced initially and long-term with tax increment financing. Not only does TIF make it possible to encourage developers to invest, more importantly, TIF allows communities and counties to plan for new water, sewer, roads, technology, electric, natural gas infrastructure without the cities and counties having to invest their own capital. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'd like to try to help you with that. Actually, I have copies.
You gonna fix that to the minutes letter?
Yes, make it part of the record, make the letter.
Mike Jenkins is next.
Morning, Mike Jenkins with Eastern Atlantic States Regional Council of Carpenters. I represent the local 436 in Bridgeport, West Virginia. This TIF district that was created over 20 years ago has created many, many hours of work for our members, whether it's on the Charles Point project or over at UHC, over at White Oaks. It's been a lot of income coming from that. The spinoff to the new terminal at Bridgeport, all that goes back. If you don't have a base to start with, and Charles Point was the very first project to start, and it's all surrounded, and all the work that came from that has been very beneficial to our members, our local residents. And I am in favor of continuing to extend this out because the growth needs to continue. As of about 2 months ago, Mon Health's announcement of the $33 million new hospital that's going to be going next to the Menards and all the other projects is there. The housing that's came to the area, all the spinoff and everything has been just fabulous. 20+ years ago, Mr. Horton took me for a ride and there wasn't a darn thing besides a few cows and grass out there. And I'm very happy to announce and look and see where we're at. We're the envy of the rest of the state because of all the growth. The 2 hospitals will have, the facilities for all the residents of Harrison County, and the benefits outweigh whatever else could be done. Some of the other things that may be coming, the new sports center that went to the city of Bridgeport is amazing. There's not another place in the state that is comparable. And I would like to think that all the people from Bridgeport would welcome to have Charles Point as a neighbor and involvement in their community because the benefits is well outweighed whatever issue here with the taxes and stuff. I don't understand the financial part of this, but I do understand the jobs. I do understand the people that need to have insurance, but have jobs that pay with a living benefit. And every one of the jobs where they have good contractors and local workers. The Mon Health will have nothing but West Virginia workers and West Virginia contractors are working on $30-some million worth of new construction. And I applaud them for what they've done. I appreciate your time. Thank you all.
Mike Romano.
It's like getting out once church starts. Thank you, everybody. I'm Mike Romano. I'm a former county commissioner, former West Virginia state senator, and I've been chairman of the EODD board, which some of our members are here today, which kind of oversee the excise tax TIF bonds. I'm going to reverse what I was going to say. I want to start out with the opposition to this extension. There's some misunderstanding. The commission is just being asked to grant the extension of 15 years to the existing TIF. No transaction's been proposed. You'll have more hearings like we have on every single transaction that's affected these TIFs. You'll have more public hearings to hear whether it's a refinancing or repurchase or whether there's going to be more development, of which there's over 300 million remaining on the excise tax TIF bonds to do that development. But, you know, the city has told us that they can't afford the maintenance on these improvements. They've been given $81 million in infrastructure improvements, roads, water, and sewer that they would have had to build themselves that none of our cities in West Virginia could ever afford at the rate that's been done at Charles Point and at White Oaks. It's a lot like if I said to you, I'm gonna give you a brand new house. and you said, you know what, in 50 years, I don't know if I can afford a new roof. I don't want it. Well, that's crazy. We've done more development at White Oaks and Charles Point than we could have ever hoped to do with tax dollars, and we're using other people's money. Out-of-state investors fund the development. All they get are the new taxes created by that development. It doesn't reach into the taxpayer's pocket one bit. And only if those taxes are adequate to pay the bonds do they get paid off. And if they don't, the bondholders have to live with what they get. It never is a debt on the county, the state, or the city. And that's a beautiful program. But let me tell you, Charles Point does more than pay off. The city of Bridgeport, you know, by my calculations, has already received over $21 million in taxes and fees. By 2035, they're going to receive 39 million. In 2050, it's going to be 57 million if we don't build another thing up there. That's good business. And surely they can figure out how to take care of roads, water, and sewer with 57 million, not counting the fact that Bridgeport, I'm a Bridgeport citizen. I don't want to do anything that hurts Bridgeport, but we pay an excess levy to do just that, take care of roads, water, sewer, police, parks, and recreation. So this used to be called the county court because the county court used to make decisions based on the facts. You got clear facts. There's been so many meetings that the council members have attended where we've laid out the finances of Bridgeport backwards and forward. The developer's been there to answer questions. You all have been there to hear those answers. You got to make a decision. There's evidence of what growth. You can go up there and look and see what benefit we get. There's no evidence of what the cost is going to be to the city of Bridgeport to maintain these roads and sewers. And you have to make a decision based on the evidence. Thank you.
I was about to treat him like the Supreme Court and cut him off.
I was
Jim
gonna say
Cava.
something in the beginning, but I.
Jim Cava is next.
Good morning. I'm Jim Cava. That's hard act to follow. That was really good. I've been in business in Harrison County. I'm a Bridgeport resident. I've been in business in Harrison County since 1992. My family has been in business in Harrison County since the 1930s. Part of my business as a certified public accountant, when I first came here to start up my practice, was to help people raise money to be able to expand their business or developments like the developer the Courtons have done at Charles Point. One of the things that I found when I tried to raise money was that there weren't a lot of people that wanted to put their capital at risk, right? Once you've made money, it's hard to go into a new venture sometimes and put that capital at risk and start over. And so I applaud the developers at Charles Point. No one talks about the risk that they undertook to develop that property. Yes, there's a lot of government money in there, but if we don't invest alongside our partners who are willing to take that risk, how can we expect someone else to come in and invest in our community for us? You can, as Mike stated, you can walk out to Charles Point, you can drive through Charles Point, you can see the benefit to the community. That would not exist. It'd still be a cow field if it wasn't for that investment. So I'm here to just wholeheartedly support the extension that Charles Point is requesting. Thank you.
Steve Ludwig.
Just wait a presentation.
Yeah, you're signed up, Mr. Corden. You can speak.
Slide one, is there a slide one? I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. Good morning. I am Jamie Corton, developer of Charles Point. Jennifer, my wife, and I want to thank you, President Thomas, Commissioner Treecost, Commissioner Hinkle, for inviting us to be here today. Our team would also like to thank the state of West Virginia and the West Virginia legislature for supporting our mutual efforts to extend and refinance, due in part to the multi-year recession that began in 2008 in the worldwide pandemic and COVID-19. And most recently, the rising interest rates that have caused developers, builders, and business owners of all kinds to reconsider the cost of borrowing money. On behalf of Genesis Partners, I'd also like to extend special recognition to the commission staff, the Harrison County Assessors, the Sheriff Tax Office, and to Tom Amon and his colleagues at Steptoe for managing these at times complex matters. It is greatly appreciated. Slide 2. The Harrison County Commission has played an integral role in the success of Charles Point development through the implement of the TIF district. So much, in fact, that other counties and other developers have come to Harrison County to visit Charles Point and meet with the Genesis Partners team to talk about the establishment of their own public-private partnership with tax increment financing. We are a model district, and our relationship with the county commission is the exact public-private partnership that the legislature and the West Virginia Development Office envisioned when TIF districts were first approved. We are asking the county commission today in part to remove the CED obligations that have weighed heavily on the Charles Point district by extending the property TIF district. Extending the property TIF district at Charles Point will provide a permanent investment solution opportunity benefiting all stakeholders, including the county, the city of Bridgeport, bondholders, and the continued development of the district. As the commission knows, we are not here today asking for additional funding beyond what was originally approved in our district in 2005. We are not changing the development plan or property uses beyond what has been approved by the county commission and consented by the city of Bridgeport. We are only asking for the additional time permitted by the West Virginia legislature to fulfill the obligations originally sought. Because of the leadership of the Harrison County Commission and working closely with the professional staff at the city of Bridgeport, Genesis Partners believes that our request is reasonable. Extending the TIF timeframe will allow Charles Point to continue to be great benefit to North Central West Virginia. It is an absolute myth for anyone to suggest that living bodies, including the district host city, don't receive any benefit from the establishment of the TIF districts. That is clearly not the case. We look forward to the county being part of the solution. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak here today. Mark?
So, Mark Langs.
Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, I'm Mark Delana. Today, we would not be discussing any developments but for TIF. So keep that in mind. The 1,700 acres known as Charles Point would not have been voluntarily annexed into the city of Bridgeport. We would not have a Charles Point development at all. There would be no 128 acre recreation complex known as the Bridge. There would not be a Bridgeport Conference Center. There would not be 470 homes built in Charles Point. There would be no Menards Super Center. The 1 million square feet of additional space already allocated for current and future developments would not exist. And there would be no new Mon Health Harrison Community Hospital Complex. The city would not have received over $80 million of infrastructure. Next slide, please. The city would not have received the 1 point municipal tax, building permits. Next slide, please. B&O taxes, fire fees, hotel motel tax, municipal. You want to pause that time for a minute? We're kind of catching up on the slides here. Yeah, that one. These are the slides I was referring to. The hotel motel tax, the municipal regular base, the municipal excess plus the base. You can see there are quite large numbers there that the city of Bridgeport does receive. Next slide. Also, if there was no TIF, this is the development you would have. The property would be remaining as farmland, and the levying bodies would collect the numbers across the top. $101,000 in 2004, 1.8 million in 2024, 2.8 million in 2035, and 1 million in 2050. With the TIF district in place, next slide. Beyond the TIF allocations, the property tax levying bodies will collect approximately $21 million in 2024, next slide. And in 2035, they will collect $45 million, next slide. And in 2050, they will collect $78 million with this TIF extension. Simply said, the extension we are seeking here today will allow the payoff of all of our remaining property TIF bonds without any additional building or development. Thank you. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Mark. Can you hear me? My name is Steve Ludwig. I'm the Director of Hospitality at for Genesis Partners, and just wanted to speak briefly about the number, just as it relates to the transparency. In the 20 years that the district has been in effect, we've held 161 public meetings. There's been 384 reports that have been filed. These are all public. Total of 545 disclosures that have been made to the public. We do have regular EODD meetings. You know, those are sent out by invitation. Love to have more attendance. We'd love to answer questions as those meetings are held. If you're not getting an invitation, you'd like to get one, just check with our team here. What I would also say is I've been in hospitality, hotel side, and restaurant side. I've been doing this for 42 years. And during that time, I've had a number of public-private partnerships that I've worked with. And I would say, and then prior to my 5 years with Genesis, previous 10 years, I was at Stonewall Resort, and we had bondholders there, and we had a public-private partnership. And yet we had some bumps in the road there, and we've been able to work through that group has been able to work through those with bondholders, with the governing agencies. And I would just say that I've been impressed with the team here. And what you really need to have is an advocate for your project. And then Jamie and Jennifer Corden have really been great advocates for this project. And the team, Rob Stewart, Mark, Jim's helped us. We have a lot of folks that, you know, they want this project to be successful. And one of the reasons I became interested in joining this team was just, I wanted to see it take that next step. You know, we've got a lot of, I think, great plans and things that we want to bring to Harrison County and North Central West Virginia. And by extending this TIF district, I think it's going to give us a chance to kind of keep that momentum going. And thank you for your time.
Jason Webb. Thank you. Zach Ritchie.
Also wait.
That concludes the individuals who were signed up on the public sign-in sheet.
Oh,
There are no Zoom individuals signed up, and certainly ask. I don't think anybody got in before. See if there's anybody on there.
is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak?
Madam Commissioner, my name is Ben Queen, asking permission to speak, please.
Go right ahead, Senator.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to participate virtually. We're fortunate to have developers like Woody Thrasher and Jamie Corden choosing to invest in Harrison County. Their commitment is a testament to the area's potential, and many of my legislative colleagues, which has been mentioned, have sought their expertise and advice for projects and TIF districts across the state. Their continued investment in White Oaks and Charles Point highlights Harrison County's attractiveness as a place to live and grow. During my time in Charleston, the legislature has consistently focused on economic development. While some may believe government should have limited involvement in economic matters, I firmly believe we have a role in fostering job creation and community growth. This commitment is evident in various legislative efforts, including what we know as TIF, or tax increment financing districts. Harrison County is particularly fortunate to have 3 active TIF districts in succession, from White Oaks to Charles Point, and the board of directors there at the airport. These projects are crucial for attracting new, high-paying jobs to our area. I want to commend Genesis Partners for their remarkable work at Charles Point, which encompasses, as we've heard, nearly 1,700 acres. Their open door policy and dedication to development serve as a model for how planned communities can attract younger generations. I've personally brought several legislators and developers to see how these developments can offer vibrant, modern communities for my generation. I ran for public office to address the needs of my peers, offering affordable housing, safe schools, healthcare, quality education, shopping, and spaces where young people can work, play, and raise a family. While some areas and individuals may resist change and growth, successful counties like mine demonstrate the value of forward-thinking economic development. To encourage younger people to return home and thrive in their hometowns, we must embrace innovative approaches and use economic development resources effectively. But for TIF, as we've heard, we wouldn't have Charles Point. And without Charles Point, I don't know if we've had or 279 corridor. It's impossible to argue against the positive impact it's had on Harrison County. I strongly support Charles Point and White Oaks. The continued effort of both developers to enhance our community and the growth of our county is undeniable. It's without any reservation that I want to encourage the commission today to continue the public-private partnership that you have established with Charles Point and White Oaks. To do that, I respectfully ask today you approve the request to extend Charles Point's TIF financing, as well as White Oaks' request that the commission has agreed to consider in a couple of weeks. Thanks for allowing me to participate today.
Thank you. Yes, I will close the public hearing. Okay, number 8, review, discuss, consider adoption of a resolution of the county commission which would approve the submission of an application to the West Virginia Department of Economic Development seeking approval to extend the termination date of Harrison County Development District Number 2, Charles Point, and to permit the amendment of the project plan for the district to permit the issuance of tax increment revenue bonds by the county commission, which have a term of up to 30 years from their issue date.
Madam President, motion to approve as read by you, Commission President.
Motion to approve the resolution as stated previously by myself. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. I would just like to point out that this resolution was already dated for today. So it was already assumed that we were going to pass this resolution. It was not left blank. So just so everybody again knows, this is back to what I talked about as far as being the commission being open. It already says that we've approved this before we even talked about it. So they've already signed that it's going to be approved. I don't think anybody really understands what they're approving. It says here that they can go after as much money as they were originally approved. It doesn't limit it. There's nothing in here that limits anything that Charles Point's asking for. There's no dollar amounts. There's no terms. There isn't any. This is just to go ask for and to ask for longer terms if they wish. Somebody would just take the time to read it. The president of the commission causes the application of all necessary documentation being submitted to the development office. Steve, appreciate you standing up and talking, speaking on behalf of Chris, but you all do not affect TIFs. Don't have a dog in the fight, but I appreciate your support. And that we're going to request for approval. And the president and the members of the commission and other officials, the employees of the county commission, are hereby authorized and directed to take such actions as shall be appropriate in facilitating the approval of the application. And this becomes effective immediately, as soon as these two say yes. No other discussion. Did you hear from Mr. Treecost or from Ms. Thompson? No,
Still doesn't know my name.
I'm sorry. No discussion. None whatsoever. And it says the developer 30 years. Is there 30 years? Tommy, do they get 30 years? They know the answer. There you go. Did they get 30 years?
So, the existing plan has a limitation, which at the time was common to almost all the TIFs, that bonds were to have a maturity not more than 30 years from the creation date of the district. Because that would be the termination date of the district. So if they're going to extend the district by 15 years, you all have to amend that provision to allow a term of bonds that would go 30 years from their issue date rather than the creation date of the district. So that's what that particular provision is tied to.
So city of Bridgeport, it's longer than what you thought. Yes.
Well, it can't go beyond the additional, it can't go beyond 2050.
So then why don't you say that? Why don't you say 30 years?
Well,
Why is there not a cutoff date?
well, the law would provide that you can't have a term of bonds that's later than the termination date of the district.
Do you have the application with you today to submit to the commission for review?
It's a record in the county clerk's office.
It's at the.
It's a record in the county clerk's
the application
office.
For the extensions with the, in the clerk's office.
Yes.
My only other questions to this commission is, I would think that you'd want to sit down and talk with the developer, the bondholder. And get this worked out. I mean, we submitted a letter to the bondholder and we haven't gotten a reply back. So I don't even know if this thing is still alive. We haven't heard. I asked our attorney if he's heard from him. He said he's not heard anything from the bondholder. So I'll ask the developer, if you heard anything from the bondholder, are they going to remove these assessments?
I didn't write the letter, sir.
And did you not stand up here today and ask that we also forgive the assessments? In your opening statement?
That's what I said would happen.
Are you asking us to remove the assessments that we've done for the last 4 years?
I'm not asking anybody, but I'm talking about the financial side. I'm talking about the extension, so we can work on the financial side.
The extension is the financial side.
It allows us to have a safe landing for not only the county, but this and the bond.
Is there anybody here today from the bondholders? Does anybody find that unusual that the person that's owed all the money is not here to ask for an extension, or if they want an extension? Seems a little odd. But there isn't anybody here. They were asked to be here. I asked staff to have them here. Well, that doesn't help them answer questions. The public hearing is supposed to answer questions, but in this public hearing, it was just statements. So the public did not get to ask questions of anybody involved. So you guys can call a public hearing. All I heard was a bunch of statements. There was no hearing. There was nothing that the public gleaned. First group got to make a statement, second group made a statement. Neither party got the opportunity to discuss what the other party said. Why was that? I have to again refer to the two to my right. Why you all were not given the opportunity to discuss it or to ask questions of what was stated. I'm sure the developer would have liked to had some things that they would have liked to ask the city. The city definitely probably had things to ask the developer, but this seems to be a big secret. I've been back through everything, Jamie, that you brought to this commission from 2002. I went back and looked at all the questions the commissioners asked you back then. And you know, they haven't changed that much. I've got a list here of what they asked and why we were doing it. And how many times we've done forbearance combined bond amounts. And I think that this commission worked with you pretty well when it came time for the property where the new city park is. Nobody wants to discuss that. Read your all's information. Wasn't for you all, the city of Bridgeport wouldn't have a bridge. Think they bought the property from you, and we know where the other property came from. You can shake your head, but I've got the bill of sale. I've looked at it. I know what went on. But we seem to be, this county has never been over backwards. That's all we've done as far as this TIF goes. 4 forbearances. Sitting here with those forbearances. I've seen the list of forbearances. I don't know if the people that had the forbearance on their properties have the capability of paying those forbearances if they go back. There's a lot of it out there that's in forbearance. Now we're probably up to what? 11 million?
Over, let's see, I think it was 16 million through 16 million through,
2 forbearances.
yes.
I just don't think anybody understands the financial side of this. That's, as we sit here today and discuss this. I'm not an accountant. I'd love for somebody to sit down and explain to me how this all works, how it's all beneficial, but we've never sat down except for a year ago to make those decisions. We talked about it with our bond counsel, somebody from the bonding, and then it disappeared. Had 2 meetings. We were gonna get this all worked out. And then we got asked to send a letter to bond counsel making a demand that they do forbearance forgiveness. 3 of us did that. Not the developer. We did. Why? Nobody has a really good reason. Tommy will say it's just to make sure that mom gets built. But did anybody say how much those forbearances were gonna cost them or us? No. Those are all the secrets that nobody wants to talk about though. Did you tell us in that meeting how much the forbearances were?
So we, as you allude to, last summer, we had 2 or 3 meetings where we all sat down, representatives of the commission, the city, bondholders, and MuniCap, who's the financial consultant. And we went through various scenarios of how these bonds could be restructured and the assumptions around that, looking at the projections of revenue based upon the development that's in place with the addition of Menard and the potential for interstate retail and how that would impact the bonds if they were extended an additional 15 years. And there was a lot of discussion around that. I mean, that it's not as though there was no transparency. There was a lot of back and forth.
What came out of those meetings at the time was the restructuring would not pay property tax to bond bar. There would be a shortfall. You made a statement and you made a finding that we could take excise tax and potentially reduce property tax.
So
And that's where it got left. But nobody ever came back to the table to get this settled, and here we sit a year later with all the people that were at the table. Now nobody's here.
So at that time, you're correct. That was the last proposal that the excise tax bonds would also be restructured. The bondholder wanted to see Menard open and also see interstate retail get under construction prior to finalizing any restructuring. The restructuring was also going to be reliant on the holder agreeing to write down or write off some of the delinquent accrued interest on the 2008 B bonds. So that is where that was left. The Menard box has been checked. They have opened, but last I heard, the bondholder was still wanting to see progress as far as interstate being constructed.
And Mon General brings no money to the table.
Not on the sales tax bonds or the property tax bonds. I think the thinking of the developers there is that that is going to create additional foot traffic in that area, which will help support retail.
But it could also bring in more Mon General with no sales tax, property tax that you can say.
Potentially, so the proposal was that Mon Health would make a payment in lieu of tax that would approximate what their property tax liability would be if they were not exempt from tax. And so therefore, under the payment in lieu of tax agreement, they would annually make that payment, which would support or provide support for the property tax bonds. And under that proposal, I understand the holder would either agree to that pilot payment, the request that the letter request that the county made to the holder that you reference for the release of the property from the deed of trust and the CED assessments, that if Mon were agreeable to the pilot payment or a prepayment of the CED assessments, then there's probably a place for the holder to release just that footprint on which Mon would be building.
Where does that pilot agreement stand?
I have not heard a further proposal from Mon with respect to that. I think that's in their court to propose something.
So is our attorney, and I'm gonna assume you wrote this resolution.
Yes.
Why is there not anything in here about anything to whether or not we're gonna do any more forbearance forgivenesses, forbearances coming forward? Where's all this in the amended plan or the plan? That when do we get to discuss how the county protects itself going forward in the taxpayers' dollars? Where's that in here? Because all I see is we're just gonna throw it down to the state gets to pass it, and then when does anybody discuss all these issues and make it part of an agreement?
So that there are a number of series of steps that would need to occur for a successful restructuring of the bonds. One of them, the property tax bonds, is certainly reliant on the 15-year extension. So at least in my mind, based on all the numbers I've seen, all the discussions I've had with the other professionals involved on the team, to have any successful restructuring of the property tax bonds, you have to have that 15 years in place. So if the remainder of the discussion about financial terms, things that we were going over last summer, things related to that, certainly all still in the background. But if that were able to gel and come together as we get closer to that magical point in time next spring, when it's not going to be a good time for any of us with respect to this project, if that couldn't gel and come together, we don't have to then take another 4 months or 6 months to get this part of it done. That will be behind the commission and be in place. And any potential purchaser of bonds or financial firm that would be looking to acquire these bonds or restructure, know that that's in place and that can be relied on. Now, there's also the city that's out there and, you know, they've raised concerns. And certainly, I don't think any purchaser of bonds or entity that would be taking this on from a restructuring standpoint will do so on, with the basis of the city being the background and not giving its blessing, providing its consent, et cetera, to allow that to move forward.
So you're comfortable that if we do a 15-year, that the TIF bonds for property will pay going forward as they go, pay all the back interest, all the principal?
No.
Then why would I buy those bonds?
Well, the existing hold, that's part of the discussion. The existing holder would have to agree to write down at least that delinquent interest in order to do that.
To resell?
Yes,
What kind of bonds are these? Are these sinking bonds?
these so there's a sinking fund, they're term bonds. I think they're both term bonds with sinking fund redemption. I think the B bonds just have one term maturity in 2035 at this point. The A bonds are actually on a paying basis.
We combine the A and B bonds, so we're correct. But that 2025 date listed
Yes, on the
so
B,
that
on
was
the,
the first thing we did for Charles.
in 2013 or 14. Yes, that was the restructuring that was done that moved the remaining maturities on the Series B bonds into one single bullet maturity in 2035.
Why did the commission do that?
At that time, it was to grant the development additional time to build out and create the tax increment revenues to make the bonds less reliant on the CED assessments.
I also think if we go back through and look at the documents that were presented, it was because they hadn't paid.
The CED assessments are also not, you know, they were delinquent at that time. Yes.
It's been an ongoing thing. We had the same issue with any of the other TIFs in the county that you represent us for.
No, the others were structured in a different way. They do not have the CED assessments.
Why do we have CED assessments?
Because it was going to take a while for the build out to occur to generate the revenues necessary to make the bond. There was a 3-year period of time where there was capitalized interest on the bonds to carry the debt and allow the development to build out. And then at that point, the debt slowly ramped up. The idea that the development would then be there to generate revenues to repay the bonds. If the tax increment revenues were not in place at that time, the assessments would make the shortfall in payment of the debt service.
Okay, I have 2 more questions for you. One, when we originally set this all up, did we not have a fund set up, an escrow account?
Trying to remember. Yes. And let's see. I think as part of that restructuring, there was an escrow account that was set up to pay CED assessments.
Did that account get zeroed out?
Yes. Yeah, the escrow account was drawn on to pay assessments that became due and payable. And then that set in place an obligation to replenish that reserve.
Has the reserve been replenished at all?
No, it's the CED assessments are set so that over time, if the assessments were payable, it would replenish the reserve. But again, we do have those forbearances on the assessments that go back from 2017 through 2023. So those assessments would have to be paid to replenish the reserve fund.
I can tell you, I've just scratched the surface. But I think for this commission to vote today to approve this without going over more with you or with Pondo, I don't know what to approve at this point makes a difference. Unless you can explain to me why it has to be approved, that
No, as far as the resolution, that's just, you know, with development, time is never on a developer's side, especially when you're talking about situation that's in distress. You know, time is of the essence. So I would say the sooner that the county can get the 15 years in place, the sooner any remaining discussions can occur to see if there's interest in acquiring those bonds with the 15 years being in place.
but there's an awful lot of other things that are involved with make those bonds.
Yeah,
They want to buy other than 15 years because there's all the other things that,
yeah, correct.
which we haven't addressed other than we're just saying 15 years. We still have to address all the other issues.
That's correct. I would add that there was an offer to have a feasibility study done that would look at this situation and look at what the impact is on the city. And the city was not interested in the feasibility study at that time. Said it was premature
Was that
to do that.
offered to the county?
Yes,
We turned down the feasibility study.
the feasibility study is still an option, but the city did not want to go down that path at that time. To have an independent consultant come in and look at this and look at all the revenues that are collected and the maintenance that will need to occur with respect to the infrastructure that they're concerned about, and match up the income and the expenses and see what the real impact is on the city, because that's an unknown right now. We know, actually, we don't have a full picture of the income side because we don't have access to that information.
But even the income side up to our side, what's 30 years more on the bond due to the county? How much money are we giving up? How's it gonna affect our operations? We're gonna commit to what other commissions have to agree to live with 30 years from now.
It's correct, but
And we
I
don't know
think-
what that income is. Talking about, you know,
so we do have projections of what the tax increment revenues would be, what the property tax would be based upon the development that's in place, plus Menard, plus interstate retail, what that tax base would be and how that breaks down. The one other thing I think that to mention that's a consideration for this is, you know, there was an investment by the bondholders of, you know, there's money that goes in different places, cost of issuance, reserve funds, capitalized interest, all this stuff. But I would say at least $25 million in infrastructure that investors have made in the county and in the city. And there's an opportunity here that the commission has, and that the city, and if agreement can be reached with holders and everyone involved, to structure something to help get their loans paid back. If that's not done, the community is basically accepting 25 or $30 million worth of investment and telling these investors that we're not really interested in making sure you get paid back. And that could have a real chilling effect in the future for this community when we try to get future investments that send a message that we may not be a good partner if things don't work out. And I don't know that we really want to send that message. Now, this still may not work out. But if it's because the local parties couldn't get on board and get together with trying to make something happen, that probably doesn't send the message that this community wants to send. It can, you know, if the financial markets tell us that we can't do it, it doesn't work, then that's one thing. Anyways, that's all. So that's Invesco. And that's who Mr. Crumbaker represents. They hold all the bonds on the Charles Point development.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'll just make sure I understand and for the record that the only thing we're voting on today is the extension.
That's correct.
And any transaction that happens will go before the commission and we will have to vote on it.
That's correct.
And today, this isn't about the cap that was set in 2005 of $95 million, or the fact that we're only at $28 million, that none of that is a part of today's vote.
That's correct. It's solely focused on the,
We're not talking about the fact that we know that if Mont General is built, the city of Bridgeport will get, in fact, the construction tax for that, right?
that's correct.
And if somebody would stay, family would stay here because they flew in or drove in from another place to go to Mont General, if it's built, as you said, they would pay hotel and motel tax if they stayed in a hotel, right?
That's correct.
And really, today with this extension, from a moral standpoint, in the fourth oldest state in the United States of America, where 38% of our Harrison County students under the guardianship of their grandparents for the past 2 generations. We're not going to do everything we can to provide the best healthcare in North Central West Virginia, to a hospital where people fly in from everywhere, all over the United States to get the healthcare they deserve. Madam, I'll call the question.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion carried. Number 9, review, discuss, consider letter to the US EDA to change grant recipient.
Madam President, this is going back to a previous meeting we had where we were talking about changing the grant recipient for that US EDA loan from out of the Harrison County Commission's name into the Harrison County Economic Development Corporation's name. So with that, there's this letter that we've prepared along with a letter from the Development Corporation, and Michelle can speak a little more about it.
So the Michelle Tonkin, Director of Special Projects, the Harrison County Economic Development Corporation was a partner with the commission on the EDA grant, and they want to take that over. They are anxious to be the only recipient. And so we've been, the county administrator and I and the HCEDC have been working with the USEDA to gather the documentation that is necessary. And we have all that now. We just have the letter that's in front of you. It's just our letter to the EDA saying we support the EDC's request to be the only recipient on this grant. And then they would take over, they would have full responsibility for all of the construction, all of the financial responsibility, all of it. So, and that's what they want. They're,
And we would be released from.
yes.
Okay.
From
You know
everything.
where I'm at.
I'll make the motion to approve the letter as well. And is there anything you want to say?
I appreciate that. It was just, like she said, a continuation of, I think it was June 12th. We made the motion to move this forward. We wrote the grants in your name because the title and the property were in your name. We've since purchased that. We have title and property. We've gone back to EDA to move forward. We've secured all of the short-term and long-term financing for this. We've worked with Thrasher on the design, the construction. The minute that EDA makes this approval and makes the change, we go out to bid and we can build this building. We have a couple things lined up afterwards for this. So I think like it was previously said, the time is not on the side of the developer. We need to move forward on this. We need this building built. Thank you.
And fix the appropriate signature, correct?
Fix the appropriate signature.
Motion is to move forward with the letter and to fix the appropriate signature. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. It works.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10, review, discuss, consider rescinding money allocated to United Way from opioid funds for social workers because they are going to reapply through the county's opioid committee application process.
Madam President, this is just a follow-up from a meeting that happened a couple weeks ago where we talked about rescinding our money. They're going to go ahead and reapply through the committee. This is just the official action on it.
So do we need to do anything?
Just need to approve rescinding the
Rescind?
money.
Okay,
out.
motion to rescind.
Motion to rescind the money that was allocated to the United Way for opioid funds for social workers, correct?
Please.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None motion carried. Review, discuss, consider letter from the assessor Joseph R. Rocky Romano.
Madam President, I thought Rocky would be here, but I haven't got a text message back from him yet.
He was going to attend a funeral, I believe. That's.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if you can pull the letter up on your agenda packet or I can read it. This letter is in reference to the tax year of 2023 assessment and property taxation of property owned in the name of Horizon Church and used as a Christian academy. The property was previously used as a school by Harrison County Board of Education, and his office was not aware that it was continuing to be used as a Christian academy by the current owner. Current owners requested that tax year 23 taxes be exonerated under provisions of West Virginia Code 11-3-27. Rocky goes on to say, after review of these matters, one can question whether taxation error was clerical in nature, an unintentional or inadvertent action. However, if all the information concerning the ownership and usage of the property had been available at the time of assessment, the property would likely have been found by his office to be exempt from property taxation for 23 tax year. As such, please consider this letter as my written approval should the commission find that a clerical error has occurred and that exoneration tax year 2023 property taxes is in order.
Motion to approve the fixing of the clerical error.
Motion to
Do you want to put
approve
on,
the clerical error.
do you want to put on the record that this is a church?
That's the church.
Or trying facility?
It is a church-owned facility. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 12, review, discuss, consider budget revisions A and B, general county and vital services.
Madam President, there are no general county or
We'll
vital
just keep
services.
this.
We're keeping it on
Okay.
with the new fiscal year.
Okay. Number 13.
I-
Administrators,
I do not have anything this week, Madam President.
Commissioner Collins, Mr. Treco,
No, Madam President.
Commissioner Hinkle.
No, ma'am.
I have nothing either.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried.